Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Marketing Monday. I have Courtney with SageAge, and we are going to talk about something I'm super passionate about. We're going to talk about how to get more family referrals and friends referrals. But before we get into the conversation, this. Courtney, before we get into this conversation, let's talk a little bit about who you are and who SageAge is.
Excellent. I'm Courtney Bayron, and I'm working with SageAge. I'm a consultant, and so I help communities achieve their highest goals. And SageAge is a full-service advertising agency and marketing agency. Fantastic organization.
Cool. So obviously, what you guys do is help deliver leads to senior living organizations so that their amazing salespeople can close sales, right?
Yes.
The problem is that it seems like nobody has enough leads, or the leads aren't good enough, or the leads are too expensive because they're coming from aggregators where they both might be expensive and are not very helpful. And so we know that the best leads are referrals. And so talk to me a little bit about referrals and how you guys look at that and where we might go with referrals.
Absolutely. So when I start working with a community, typically they have not yet used SageAge. And so they don't have a full tank of leads and they need to rebuild their pipeline. And so before you can get your whole lead generation machine working, you got to do the fast and the easy. And one of the fastest and easiest things that a community can do is to promote and ask for resident referrals. That is low-hanging fruit, and they have some of the highest conversion rates. So you already have people that know you and love you. All you have to do is just ask and put together a program.
Okay. So a few weeks ago, I ran a little LinkedIn poll, if we can put that up, Jada, to take a look at, where I asked my LinkedIn followers how many referrals they get per year from residents. And I had 4% of people said they got none, which is probably one person. 17% said one or two. 28% said 3 to 7, and 51% said 8+ per year. Now, I'm going to confess that I'm a little skeptical about that 8+ if we are talking about a single location. I suspect there are probably a few places that happens, but not many. Courtney, what do you think?
So this is I love that you asked this question, and I love that you have the poll, because I go in and I do assessments and I look through CRMs and I look at lead generation sources and try to figure out the reputation. Is it a product issue? And when I see very low resident referral scores, it either tells me the community hasn't asked, or there's something wrong with the product, or something's going on. But when I see really high resident referral scores, then I know, okay, we've got a great product. We just need to work on some of the other skills. So I think I'm used to seeing around 30 to 50 actually per year in really great communities, and around 4 or less in communities that struggle, or anywhere on that spectrum. There was one community I was working with in their CRM where, in the history of all their CRM data and all their marketing statistics, they had really excellent resident referral scores. And when I talked to the residents, they said, oh yeah, I'm here because a friend of mine told me that this place is incredible and I have to move here. And then from about 2001 to 2004, there was a total of 5 resident referrals.
Wow.
And so we looked at what happened, and it was a change in leadership, and it was dissatisfaction with the product. So it just tells us so much. Even that little piece of data and looking into it can really solve this huge problem for an organization.
Okay, so you're actually looking at those numbers and seeing that 8+ is a reasonable number for that percentage of people if you're doing a good job in your community.
Yes. And I know
Perfect.
we spoke before and I said I was a little bit nervous, but I think I had different numbers in my head.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually super encouraging. So if I'm sitting here and I'm watching this and I'm thinking, I don't have those kinds of numbers. I don't know how to get referrals. Where do I start? How do you help people get there?
It is so easy. It's as simple as making a flyer. So make a flyer, create some sort of an incentive. It can be, we'll give you a free meal in our restaurant. It can be, we'll give you $2,500 off your monthly fee. We'll give you a free month. The most successful, most popular, it really depends on your product type. So if you have a large buy-in, you have more allotment to spend more on your resident referrals. And then you can give to the person who gives the referral and you can give to the new resident coming in. So that way they both feel like they've helped each other out and it's a win-win situation. So maybe it's 1 month free for each person or $3,000 for each person. If it's a rental community that has less to give, it's maybe a $1,500 or monthly rate incentive. And so you just make the flyer and then making sure that you communicate it. So you can have the flyer, but you got to just keep sharing that message. So share it with your sales teams, share it in the newsletter, put it in the bills. It's great to put in right before a rate increase because it's, hey, I know your rates are coming, but also you can get this free money right here.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool if somebody could actually decided they were gonna? I don't know if it's ever happened. It'd be interesting to know if anybody's ever had this. Is somebody maybe got their rent for free because they knew so many people and referred so many people, or cut it in half or something. But it's possible, right?
Oh, 100%. There are some people who have so many friends that they can live 7 months out of the year for free at a community, and the community wins.
That is amazing. So one of the things that I think that one of the biggest challenges that people have is they're afraid to ask. And I not exactly a resident referral, but I think it's directly related. As you know, I went on this terrible senior living consumer journey with my stepfather, and he was in this community for a couple of months. And so I got curious and I went to take a look at their Google reviews. And they have I don't know, it's like a 4.7 stars out of 5, insanely high number, right? And it's not very good. But I know why they did it, why they're so high. It's because they asked for it. Because the first month I was there, they had these flyers and posters everywhere. Go review our community. Go review our community, and people will do it. And so the biggest challenge seems to be just asking. So can you talk to me a little bit about language in terms of what do you say to people?
Absolutely. So when you're asking for a resident referral, I think those are in 2 different buckets. So one's a resident referral, one's an online review. Very closely related though, because many times if your resident referrals are low, you'll look and your online reviews are also low. And so that's super telling. Additionally, when you want to go ask for resident referrals, if you're having a challenge getting them, then you also want to look at your online reviews and you see those are low, then you've got a lot of work to do operationally to get this to be a place where people want to refer. But once you're at that level, and people know you hear them and you're working with them and you're all on the same page, you can say, please, we're trying to attract other people with similar interests and needs as yours. And we would love for you to just share a little bit about your experience. I've had people say to me, I would love it if you could give me a 5-star review. Like there was no other option. It was a 5-star, it was nothing. And so I love that and I've adopted it. Would you be willing to give us a 5-star review?
Well, and it tells you a lot, right? Because if somebody says, well, actually, I wouldn't, then you have something to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's super important. So I'm going to do a little bit of storytelling here. Last week, I did a keynote speech for the annual meeting of the National Association of Professional Referral Agents. And these are the referral agents that are local on the ground. They go with people to communities, they know communities, they have deep relationships. And so they asked me to do their closing keynote. And one of the things I talked to them about was asking for referrals and asking for testimonials. And I gave them a very specific set of tools or a methodology they can use to get better referrals. But of course, I had to live out my own advice, right? And so I told them that I was going to ask them at the end of the speech to give me referrals. And I use this tool called Talkadot, which helps collect reviews from a speech. And so this is a little bit of bragging, I guess. So I hope that's okay with you, Courtney, but I'm going to show you now a couple of the reviews I got just from asking. So inspiring leader, perfectly tailored, very relevant to anyone senior care. Personal stories will touch your heart, even bring tears to your eyes. I think we got a couple more. Love that he didn't pull any punches with a room full of senior living people. He told them that their approach sucks. Same approach, home care. Having said this, anybody who's been following Steve's newsletter would not be surprised. It's refreshing to hear the truth. And then I think we have one more. Nope, that's it. 2. Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. So it just shows what the kinds of things that you can get if you ask.
I agree with that. I mean, every time we put out a flyer, I would say 99% of the time we've put out a flyer and we've asked for referrals and we've put it on all of the different channels of television, the newsletter, the resident board, put them in resident mailboxes. We have definitely gotten referrals. There was only one instance where we didn't. And like you said, people will tell you and they'll say, I'm not comfortable doing that. And here's why. And then we knew that our lack of leads was due to a whole different issue. But either way, it's going to help you with generating leads.
So let's actually talk about this, Courtney, for a little bit more. Let's assume that you go ask and people go, I'm not really comfortable doing that. Mm-hmm. How do you go about fixing it? How long does it take to fix it?
I always say it just depends on the building. Your business will come at the speed in which you are willing to work. So if you're willing to listen to the residents and turn things around immediately, then you will see success immediately. If you take a long time and you try a little thing and then you try another little thing, it's going to take you as long as you take to get things done. So in one of these cases, we did a resident survey to try to understand more. And then we immediately responded to the residents and let them know we heard them and made some changes. And then from that, we received 2 resident referrals and 1 moved in right away. And so that was pretty amazing. Yeah. So they have some of the highest conversion rates. So it's worth putting in that extra effort to get the referrals and to build the residents' trust because they're your biggest ambassadors. And that goes along with every event you have. You have a marketing event, you want an ambassador at every single table saying, you got to live here. This place is incredible. Because I'm in sales and marketing, of course, I'm going to tell them it's incredible. But the people that live there are going to tell you got to come here. And if it's okay, I just want to add one thing to that is a lot of the teams will come to me and say, I know we're putting out this resident referral flyer. I've got people in my system from 10 years ago that were referred from a newspaper, but then later their friend came and referred them. And I always say, if your resident person or your family member can get that person to move forward and into the building, I would 100% pay on that. It maybe didn't originate with them, but they got them over the hump. They invited them in for dinner and they're moving in. It's worth it.
Well, and the other thing I would say about it is that if you don't, somebody helps get them moved in and then you don't pay them, you look chintzy. And people are going to say, oh, they're just trying to fool us. They're trying to trick us. They're not really going to ever pay you money. I mean, I just imagine a resident walking into dinner and say, guess what? I just got $2,500 off my rent. I just got a free month's of rent because I did this.
Mhm.
I think about how enthusiastic other residents are going to be to do the same thing.
100%. And when you talked about wording, it's, don't you want to live next to all your best friends? Don't you want to surround yourself with people that you already know and love? And by the way, here's a free month for doing it.
Yeah. I've got a number of old friends where I think, man, it would be really cool if we all lived in the same senior living community. That would have a huge appeal. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about how we can maybe improve that process. I don't think the article is actually published yet, but I wrote an article a week or so. It was a guy who teaches real estate agents, so not directly in our industry, but he has his name is Sharon Servasa. I'm not sure I got that right. It's anyway, and he's called the WOM multiplier. And so here's how it works. The first thing is that his position is that you need to train people how to give good referrals, how to do this, because if you don't, people will go, oh yeah, it was, talking about that was really nice to visit there. Yeah, it's a nice place. And you actually want them to say things that are going to be powerful, that are going to make it more likely that somebody's going to be curious, that somebody's going to move in. And so he's got three things that he does. So the first thing is that he wants you to actually focus on the specifics of why living in that community has been a great experience. And so what do you think?
The staff. Are you asking me about?
Yeah. So let's actually walk through what are typically things that you say, and it means you've got to get pretty specific. So resident comes and says, yeah, I really like it here, but I don't know what to say to my friends. And so you start with, what do you say? Well, tell me about the best parts of living here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
tell me how it. Yeah, and I always think the most impactful are, tell me how it changed your life. Tell me what encouraged you to finally make the move, because that's a really hard one. Or how did you make the decision? And a lot of people are struck on, or that they get stuck on, how am I going to know when it's time? And so how I knew it was time, how it's changed my life, and community, because a lot of people move because they're lonely. And so if they know that it's a welcoming community and that they're going to fit in and they're going to be part of the family, that's huge.
Yeah. So getting to these details of why people actually moved is really, really important. And one of the things that I'm continually surprised at, and I think it's we're victims of social media in this, is we're not as good as storytellers as we used to be. And so helping people tell that story becomes super, super important. And so the first thing you do is exactly what you're talking about. What's the best part of it? How did it change your life? It's a favorite question. What would have happened if you had not come here? And then the next thing I would actually love to see people do, and what he recommends, is you actually take the story, you take all this information, and you write the story for them, right? So if you will, you're putting words in their mouth in a very specific way. And so as you're doing this, the question I have is, what would you as a senior living professional, like your residents who's making a referral, to say about you? So let's try a little experiment here with you, Courtney. I didn't prep you on this, and I should have, but we're going to just do this real and live. So let's assume that you come to me and say, as well as you guys being a partner, we also do some business with you. And so you want me to give you a testimonial. What is it that you want me to say about SageAge?
Ooh, that's a great one. I would love for you to talk about how your business improved. I would love for you to talk about how we built a partnership and how we built excitement within your organization, because change is hard. And I would also like for you to talk about the quality of the work and the people that you work with SageAge.
Okay,
Can you do that for me, Steve?
Too bad. Can I try it right now?
Yes, I would love it.
Right now? Oh man, I love working with SageAge. So first thing I got to say about SageAge is they were one of our very first partner sponsors when I first started looking to create revenue, and SageAge has been through it with all of us. But the second thing I would like to say is, so we have this name, Senior Living Foresight. We actually used to have an old name, and they came in and they said, we think you need a new name, and they came up with this name, and we love it so much to this day. And they manage our website for us. And what's really cool about it is, as everybody knows, right, things are always breaking on website because the internet changes and stuff changes. And I know that if something goes wrong, I can get on the phone to Sean or somebody else and say, hey, we got this problem, and it is going to be taken care of immediately. And because of that kind of responsiveness, my team loves working with them. We know that we're not going to have to worry about things. Everybody knows there are always problems and things go wrong. And so nobody expects that that's not going to happen. And usually it's not even the marketing company's fault. It's just the way the world changes. And we just know that they're easy to work with. And so they're really, really amazing to work with. Everybody ought to be working with SageAge.
That was amazing.
How did I do?
You did incredible.
Yeah.
You're hired.
So, thank you.
You're hired.
So and then the third part of this system that I really like so much is that and I'd have to probably do this, spend a little bit more time with a piece of paper and pencil, or you would do it and give it back to me. But that's actually to create a one-liner. So I gave an example when I gave the keynote. My mom had a massive stroke, and it destroyed most of her mind. And she ended up in the hospital, and then she went from a hospital to a nursing home. That was a horrible, horrible experience, even though it was a Medicare 5-star rated community. And as soon as I moved her into the nursing home, I knew we'd made the terrible mistake. I was putting my mom in hell. And so I immediately went to work finding a new place. And I found a little 6-bed board and care called All Seasons Retirement that was close to my house. I'd visited it before I knew the owner a little bit. I called him up and I said, do you have a bed? I'd like to move my mom in. And he said, well, I don't know if I want you there. He says, you write mean things about companies, senior living companies, and I don't want you to write mean things. I said, I won't write mean things about you. I promise. I need it. And my mom ultimately moved in. And she was there for 8 months until she passed away. And it was such a great experience. Her husband would come visit every day. And as soon as when he first got there, they'd come and see if he wanted anything to drink, and he'd ask for Coke, and they didn't have Coke. And so they went out and they stocked the refrigerator with Coke. So every time he walked in, he didn't even have to ask. They just walk in with a can of Coke, and the popped already open, so he just knew it was going to be there. And I wouldn't go every day, but I was there 2 or 3 times a week, and they learned that I love coffee with cream. Every time I walked in, I'd go in and see my mom. Immediately somebody would walk in with a cup of coffee with cream, just the way I wanted it. And one time I often would take my dog Bailey with me to visit, and it was always fine. He'd come in the room and he'd lay down. One time I walked into my mom's room, and my mom looked at the dog and says, that dog can't be here. Hi, Mom, that's Bailey. He's been there all the I don't care. That dog can't be here. Well, Mom, if the dog can't be here, I can't be here because I'm going to have to leave. I don't care. You have to leave. The dog can't be here. It's like, and about that time, the staff came in and said, oh, we'll take the dog. And they took the dog and they kept the dog until I was done. And so when they changed my mom, they changed my whole family's life. They gave my mom the best possible thing. I don't know what it would have been like if we'd been in a more traditional place, but they changed the life of my whole entire family. That's the kind of line you're looking for, because it is so, so powerful. But now they're lucky they have me doing it. I think about this as a living, but it would be hard for a lot of people to come up with that line, and you can help people with that.
Mhm.
Does that feel too cheesy?
No, I love that. I love that story, and I love that they went to those lengths, and it's not a story you're gonna forget.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So I just think that you have this. I mean, we're changing people's lives for the better with senior living when we're doing it right, and so we shouldn't be afraid to help them write those stories and tell those stories. And I don't know. I imagine a single woman moving, a widow moving into one of your communities and falling in love or finding a new best friend and
mhm.
working through this story and being able to say, this changed my life for the better. I don't know what my life would have been like if I hadn't moved in. And we've got to tap into that emotion. And I guess that's it for me is the emotion part of it.
I really love that. I know at SageAge, when we're working with clients on their social media, we have resident testimonials, and we'll ask a series of questions and then put together their story. And it has instances like what you talked about, but I love yours. And it makes me think everyone should be doing video testimonials too.
Yeah,
Just to tell that
I
kind of
think
story.
video testimonials are really powerful. I think the other thing, and again, it was sort of drifting a little bit from client referrals, but I think it's so important. I actually feel like senior living operators don't do that good a job of collecting testimonials and B distributing testimonials. And it's really hard, right? So I've got these great testimonials for my keynote, and now I got to figure out how to get those out there so I can go do additional keynotes. And Jada, we got to talk about that. Jada's producing behind, and she helps with this stuff. But these things are really powerful when used right.
I
So,
100% agree.
yeah. So how do you, as you see the use of testimonials, can you talk to me a little bit about kind of what best practices are?
Absolutely. So, for all of our clients that are really trying to push testimonials, we do a card that that clients can stick at their front desk or their concierge desk, or they can have them with them. So, as an operator or a social worker or any staff member receives a compliment, they can say, "Thank you so much for saying that. Is there any way you would be willing to put together a testimonial for us?" And then hand them that card, and it shows them exactly where to go. Um, so that's one way. The other is we can help type up the testimonial for them. The best type of testimonial is send your friends to us, because there's nothing better than having another friend or neighbor here, um, or helping them log in. But I know sometimes that's a challenge if they're at the community and they're putting on a testimonial. But definitely just helping to outline and showcase, here's how you do it, here are the steps, making it as easy as possible. And then the last thing I was going to say is, just like you had mentioned, making it part of the culture and making it part of the process for staff, because days are so busy, and it's just probably the last thing on your plate that you're going to think about is going and collecting testimonials. Are you going to make a phone call and try to connect with a prospect that you already have, or are you going to go out and seek out testimonials? So you really have to build the buy-in and get all of your people to be asking for testimonials, especially when you hear those beautiful stories, because it's not going to be the sales and marketing people that are typically going to hear the stories. It's going to be the teams that provided that kind of love and care. And it's going to be the operations and the social work and the caregivers. So just making sure that everyone knows how, or even creating, I've seen people do like 1 or 2 months where we do our blitz, and each person tries to collect a certain amount of testimonials, and then there's an award at the end. So making time for it and rewarding people for getting them.
Well, that was the question I was going to ask. Have you seen anybody, and does it work if you go out and say, we'll pay you, I don't know, a $50 bonus, we'll pay you a gift card to Olive Garden or for each testimonial you get? Any thoughts on that?
And you're talking about like if a staff gets a,
Yeah.
gets a,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that idea. Or a free free lunches for a month, or a great parking spot, or some sort of Starbucks gift card.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember what the company is. I'm actually gonna do a video on this, but there's a company that actually pays their customers for reviews. So if you go put a Google review on, they get like $50. If they there were like 3 or 4 of the things. And I think that the social proof stuff is so powerful, and it feels scary to do it first, but once you start doing it, it becomes really fun.
Yeah, I agree. I love what you said. The power is in the ask. Is that what you said? I really love that.
Yep. I don't know if I did, but that was a good line. I'm gonna steal that. So, but you're right. The biggest challenge is you've got to ask. So if you're looking for help on this, reach out to Courtney. You can see the contact information there. Courtney, thank you for what you guys do. You're an amazing company. And you make this huge difference in the lives of people. And that's the thing that makes it all worthwhile. So I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you again in a few weeks when we do this.
Okay, right back at you.
Thank you.